1833, 18-year-old Frankie Silver became the first white woman hanged in the state of North Carolina after being charged with the brutal murder of her husband, Charles Silver. In the last 200 years, North Carolina natives have retold Frankie's story, analyzing her life, the details of Charles' death, and her trial to determine whether justice was served or if Frankie was wrongfully accused and murdered. Along the way, however, details have taken on a mythologized context, grounding the story in Appalachian placeness and identity.
Details of Frankie Silver's early life are mostly unknown. Born Frances Stewart to Isaiah and Barbara Stewart, she was raised in the rural mountains of North Carolina in a small community located in Burke County. Her family life centered on labor within the household, with daily responsibilities tied to maintaining the home and supporting the family. She grew up within a close family structure alongside her mother and relatives, including her brother Blackston Stewart, before eventually entering into a marriage with Charles Silver in 1829.
With much of their marriage life unknown, Frankie and Charles Silver got married on October 15, 1829, and moved into a cabin gifted by Charles' father. The newlyweds would go on to have their first child together, Nancy Silver, on November 3, 1830. Over a year later, on December 22, 1831, Charles Silver was dismembered by an axe and his remains burned within his own home. Due to Charles' failure to return from a hunting trip, residents searched for his whereabouts and discovered his remains inside the Silver cabin. Frankie was then arrested in January 1832 alongside her mother, Barbara Stewart, and her brother, Blackston Stewart. Her mother and brother were released and Frankie was kept in custody.
Frankie Silver's trial took place at the Burke County Courthouse in March of 1832 and lasted only 2 days. She was not allowed to testify in her own defense because she was a woman. Some believed that Frankie was a victim of abuse, and even the clerk of court, B.S. Gaither, noted evidence that her husband, Charles Silver, was often physically violent. The prosecutor argued that she was motivated by jealousy and suspected her husband of infidelity. She was found guilty of first-degree murder, and her execution date was scheduled for July 12, 1833. It is still contested whether Frankie gave a confession before her death. At 18 years old, Frankie Silver became the first white woman to be executed in North Carolina.
Dozens and dozens of tales tell the story of Frankie Silver, each adding, subtracting, or altering details. The facts about this event, on the other hand, are quite murky, and much of what people know is based on theory and local myth.
And I think one of the really interesting things about the story is, like you said, first of all, it has endured for all this time, but also these different versions that seem to, bring a kind of an air of mysticism or myth, or, people seem inclined to embellish the story.
All that is known for certain about Charles' death is that he was killed with an axe and dismembered in late 1831. But what about Frankie's motive? A common theory is that Charles was abusive, Frankie killed him in self-defense, and the state of North Carolina hanged a battered woman. Many within the Silver family deny this theory altogether, claiming that Frankie's family were mean-spirited people. One oral history even claims that her father helped her kill him, and was maybe more involved in his murder than she was. This story theorizes that Frankie's family wanted Charles dead so that Frankie would inherit his money and allow them to move west. Others say that her brother aided in his murder. Another theory claims that Charles had been unfaithful to Frankie and she murdered him to get revenge. Because there are so many theories, Appalachian folklore and memory has thoroughly mythologized this event. North Carolinians have retold the story for almost 200 years through novels, plays, and songs. Even 140 years ago, the Linmore Topic published a ballad which claimed to be her confession at the gallows. This confession, however, mentions nothing about Frankie's motive and is more concerned with the consequences of the crime. This is in stark contrast to how many locals view Frankie in the modern day, often portraying her as a victim, especially in the arts. A play detailing Frankie's execution refers to the event as a tragic story of injustice, and Sharon McCrum's novel paints the 1832 clerk of court as a man who wonders if there is such a thing as equal justice under the law. Regardless of who is telling the story, fact and myth have tangled together in the modern-day interpretation of Frankie Silver's execution. The story has endured for so long that mountaineers have absorbed it into their identity. Two separate Silver descendants state that their family's involvement in this event fills them with a sense of pride. Meanwhile, uninvolved mountaineers retell the story in hopes to find some sense of justice for Frankie's death. Thus, knowing the story has invented a sense of placeness, you know who your people are based on their opinion of Frankie Silver.